When we think of the justice system, we usually picture judges in their robes or lawyers giving these passionate closing arguments. But behind all that visible drama, there's this massive, really complex engine of institutions and people that are keeping the entire system from grinding to a halt. So today, we're going to pop the hood and see who really runs the courts.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start in the court's engine room. That's where it all kicks off. Then we'll check out who provides the muscle to make sure court orders are actually followed. After that, we'll look at the HR department for judges, then the rulemakers for all the lawyers, and finally, we'll meet the government's very own legal team.
And this is really the central question for today's explainer, isn't it? A judge's ruling is totally meaningless if there's no one to file the initial paperwork, no one to enforce the final decision, and no one to manage the very professionals who make it all happen. We're about to meet all those hidden players.
Okay, our first stop is the absolute heart of the court's administration. This is the place where everything, and I mean everything, begins and ends: the High Court Registry.
So think of the registry as the central nervous system for the entire judiciary. And it's not just for the High Court, which is a key point. Its staff and services are woven into every single court in the country, making sure all the administrative work of justice actually gets done. So what's really fascinating here is just how fundamental these tasks are. The registry is where your case officially begins, with the issuance of processes. It's where a judge's decision gets its teeth, through the sealing of execution orders. They even calculate the official legal costs for a case. Basically, no justice happens without the registry handling the paperwork first. It's that simple. And get this, running the registry isn't just some clerical job. To be the head here, you have to be a fully qualified lawyer who's completed their pupillage. That's the mandatory apprenticeship you do right after law school. This just shows you how critical the role is. You need some serious legal expertise to manage the administrative engine of the entire court system. So the registry processes the order, the judge makes a ruling, but what happens if someone just ignores it? A piece of paper isn't enough, right? You need some muscle. And that brings us to the sheriff's office. And that description is just perfect. The sheriff's office is literally the body that turns a court order from a piece of paper into a real-world action. They're the ones who make sure judgments are actually followed, using the coercive power of the court to get it done. Now, this is a really crucial distinction. We all think of the police when it comes to law enforcement, but they primarily handle the criminal side of things. When it comes to civil matters, things like debt collection or property disputes, that's when the sheriff's office steps in. And this is where it gets really interesting. The official sheriff of the High Court is actually the Inspector General of Police. It's wild, but the day-to-day operations are run by a judicial officer called the undersheriff. And the real on-the-ground work, that's done by bailiffs. This little detail brilliantly illustrates a key principle of the whole system: impartiality. See, when a bailiff, who's a public employee of the judiciary, serves you court papers, the court trusts that it was done by the book. There's a feeling that a private clerk who works for one of the lawyers could be biased. It's a small thing that says a whole lot about maintaining trust in the process. All right, we've seen the admin side and we've seen the muscle. But who hires, promotes, and, if needed, disciplines the people working in these roles, including the judges themselves? Well, that brings us to the judiciary's own HR department. Say hello to the JLSC. Seriously, think of them as the powerful hiring committee for the entire justice system. They handle the careers of pretty much everyone, from local magistrates all the way up to advising the president on who should become a Supreme Court justice. They are, in essence, the gatekeepers. And the makeup of this commission is pretty fascinating. Yeah, you've got the top judges and government lawyers, sure, but you also have a representative for private lawyers, the head of the whole Public Service Commission, and, this is crucial, 2 people who aren't lawyers at all. This mix is totally intentional. It's designed to provide some checks and balances and to stop the judiciary from just becoming an echo chamber. Okay, so the JLSC manages the people inside the judiciary, but what about the entire legal profession? Who sets the rules for all lawyers, whether they work for the government or a private firm? Well, that's the job of the General Legal Counsel. This council is the ultimate authority for every single lawyer in the country. It's an independent body, and it's got the power to govern the whole profession. Their job is to make sure every lawyer is playing by the rules and meeting a really high standard of professional ethics. Just think about it for a second. This council oversees a lawyer's entire career. They are the gatekeepers who decide who even gets to practice law in the first place. They issue the annual license that allows lawyers to actually work, they write the official rule book for professional conduct, and they act as judge and jury for any lawyer who breaks those rules. That's a lot of power. We've covered the courts, the enforcers, and the regulators. So for our final piece of the puzzle, let's look at the government's own team of lawyers, the Law Offices Department. This is basically the government's in-house law firm. It's headed up by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and this one department provides all the legal advice and representation the government needs to function. And inside that office, you've got this key relationship. The Attorney General is the political head, the chief legal advisor. But the Solicitor General is the top civil servant, the administrative head, who's really running the department's day-to-day work and making sure all its divisions are working together. The government's legal work is, as you can imagine, massive and complex. So the department is split into 4 specialized teams. You've got the prosecutors for criminal cases, the legislative drafters who literally write the laws, the civil litigators defending the government in court, and the diplomats in law who manage international treaties. And this slide really puts their huge scope into perspective. We see the prosecution division in the news all the time, but behind the scenes, the parliamentary division are the architects of our laws. On the world stage, the international division is handling treaties, and whenever the government gets sued, it's the civil division that steps up to defend it. It's a massive, vital operation. So, from the registry's very first stamp on a document, to the bailiff enforcing a judgment, to the council that regulates lawyers, and the department that advises the state, these institutions are the essential interconnected gears. Without them, the engine of justice would just stop. So, the law isn't just some abstract set of rules. And it's not just a single decision from a judge. It's a living, breathing system run by thousands of people across this network of really complex institutions. So maybe the next time you hear about a court case, you won't just picture the courtroom, but the entire hidden engine that makes it all possible.